live, sir.
Yeah.
Hi, friends. Welcome to this yet another wonderful presentation from the VGM Foundation and the Palakkad Tamil Research Center. So, headed by Professor Rajaram. And today's speaker is Dr. Gurumurthy. He is a doctor because I should give him a doctorate even though he has not got his PhD. I'm sure he richly deserves it. A gentleman who I've known for 4 decades and more, and his immense interest, love and passion for the Chola architecture is immeasurable. And he has been giving lectures on a monthly basis on behalf of his Rotary Club of Metropolis, Coimbatore, Heritage Talks for the past 3 years as of now. So I'm sure they're all on the website, and I think he will show the link also how to access more than 60-70 lectures of his on different sculptures and idols in different temples. So இன்னைக்கு வந்து சோழர்கள் வரலாறு பாத்தீங்கன்னா கிட்டத்தட்ட 1200 ஆண்டுகளுக்கும் கடந்தது. 870 CE இருந்து ஆரம்பிச்சு it was a great golden period until almost the past few hundred years back. So in the periodல right from விஜயாலய சோழர் டு பராந்தக சோழர் எல்லாருமே வந்து கோயில்கள் கட்டியிருக்காங்க, அழகா பண்ணியிருக்காங்க. ஆனா அது எல்லாத்துக்கும் சிகரம் வைத்தாற் போல் 2 மன்னர்கள், ஒருவர் ராஜராஜ சோழன் அவர்களுடைய தஞ்சை பெரிய கோயில் இன்னைக்கு வந்து வேர்ல்ட் ஹெரிட்டேஜ் மானுமெண்டா இருக்கு. சோ அத மாதிரி இன்னொரு கோயில் கட்ட முடியாதுங்கிற லெவல்ல அவ்வளவு அழகா கட்டியிருக்காரு. அடுத்தது அவரோட புதல்வர் ராஜேந்திர சோழர் கங்கை கொண்ட சோழபுரத்துல ரொம்ப அழகா ஒரு கோயிலை கட்டியிருக்கார். அதுல இருக்கிற அந்த சிற்ப அழகு உண்மையிலேயே மெய் சிலிர்க்க வைக்கக்கூடிய ஒரு அழகு. அதைத்தான் வந்து நாங்க இன்னைக்கு ஸ்கிரீன்ல கூட நான் வந்து உங்க இன்வைட்ல ஷேர் பண்ணியிருந்தேன். அதாவது அதுல ஐதீகம் என்னன்னா, சிவபெருமானும் பார்வதியுமே வந்து ராஜேந்திர சோழனுக்கு அந்த கிரீடத்தை முடி அணிவித்து அவரை கௌரவிப்பதாக அங்கே அமைந்துள்ள அந்த சிற்பம் ஒரு அழகான சிற்பம். அதை பத்தி குருமூர்த்தி அவர்கள் என்றென்றும் பாராட்டி கொண்டே இருப்பார்கள். அவர்களுடைய அந்த கலை, அந்த சிற்ப ஆர்வம், அதை வந்து எனக்கு அறிமுகப்படுத்தியது என்னுடைய மாமனார் அவர்கள் அசோகா திரு குப்ராஜ் அவர்களுக்கும் நிறைய ஆர்வம் உண்டு இந்த துறையில. இப்ப இன்னைக்கு பாத்தீங்கன்னா அந்த தஞ்சை பெரிய கோயில்ல அந்த இடத்துல கல் பாறைகளே கிடையாது. சோ கிட்டத்தட்ட 1200 ஆண்டுகளுக்கு முன்னால அந்த கோயில் கட்ட ஆரம்பிச்சு கட்டினாங்க. 10 வருடத்துல கட்டதா சொல்றாங்க. பட் அங்க ஒரு கல்லு கூட கிடையாது. அது நாரத்தா மலைன்னு ஒரு ஐ திங்க் 60 மைலோ என்னமோ இருக்குன்னு நினைக்கிறேன். அந்த மலையில இருந்து உடைச்சு அந்த கல்லை வந்து கொண்டாங்க. அதுக்கு வந்து டிரான்ஸ்போர்டேஷனுக்கு பெரிய சக்கரங்களுடைய வண்டிகள் எல்லாம் பண்ணி பெரிய பெரிய கல் பாறைகள் எல்லாம் தூக்கிட்டு வந்தாங்க. கடைசியா அந்த கோபுரத்துல இருக்கிற அந்த சென்டர் பீஸ் வந்து இந்த கோயிலை சுத்தி மண்ணு ஒரு பெரிய ஒரு மலையே எழுப்பி அதுல வந்து யானைகளை வைத்து இழுத்து கொண்டு சென்று மேலே கொண்டு போய் சேர்த்தினார்கள். அதுல ஒரு அழகு என்னன்னு பாத்தீங்கன்னா, எந்த வித சிமெண்ட்டும் யூஸ் பண்ணாம அந்த கோயில்ல வந்து எல்லா ஜாயிண்ட்ஸும் வந்திருக்கு. அதுல வந்து அந்த பெக் அண்ட் சாக்கெட் ஜாயிண்ட்னு சொல்லிட்டு ஒரு மேல் அண்ட் ஃபீமேல் டைப் ஆஃப் ஜாயிண்ட் ஒவ்வொரு கல்லுக்கும் இணையறதுக்கு ஒரு இது பண்ணியிருக்காங்க. அடுத்தது 2 அந்த ஒரு சுவர்னா அது 2 சுவர் நடுவுல ஒரு கேப், அது மேல வந்து அந்த கோபுரத்தை அமர்த்தி இருக்கார்கள். அண்ட் 2வது பாத்தீங்கன்னா அந்த ஒரு 7 பனைமர உயரம் அந்த கோபுரம் அந்த கோயில் இருக்கிறதா. ஆனால் ஒரு பனைமர உயரம் மட்டுமே ஃபவுண்டேஷன். ஸோ ஃபவுண்டேஷன் is that sort of foundation is supporting such a tall massive structure. இதெல்லாம் வந்து அந்த காலத்து என்ஜினியரிங் மார்வல்னு சொல்லணும். ஒரு 1200 ஆண்டுகளுக்கு முன்னால இந்த மாதிரி எல்லாம் கூட கட்ட முடியுமா? இன்னைக்கு வந்து நம்ம கட்டுற பிளைஓவர்ஸ் எல்லாம் உருப்படியா இருக்கான்னு பார்த்தா சந்தேகம் தான். ஆனா இவ்வளவு சிம்பிள் இதே நம்மளால ஒழுங்கா பண்ண முடியல. அந்த காலத்துல அவ்வளவு அழகா பண்ணியிருக்காங்க. சோ அந்த சிற்பங்கள் எல்லாம் ஒவ்வொன்றும் அந்த கலை மிளிரும் சிற்பங்கள். இப்ப பாத்தீங்கன்னா ஸ்கிரீன்ல இருக்கிறது குருமூர்த்தி சார் ஒரு அழகான ஒரு சிற்பம் போட்டிருக்காரு. அது வந்து சிவபெருமானோடு தான் நான் நினைக்கிறேன். he will explain. இப்ப ரொம்ப அழகா இருக்கு அந்த ஸ்கல்ப்சர். இந்த அழகு வந்து நம்ம எல்லாருடைய பார்வைக்கும் அது வந்து நம்ம வந்து ஏதோ பார்த்தா அழகா இருக்குன்னு நினைக்கிறோம். ஆனா ஒவ்வொன்றுல இருக்கிற அந்த கலை நுணுக்கம் அது வந்து குருமூர்த்தி போன்றவர்கள் அவர்கள் பார்வையிலே தான் அது வெளிப்படும். அதனால் இன்று மிக அழகாக இந்த ப்ரோக்ராம் நடக்க இருக்கு. அதுல ஒன்றும் சந்தேகமே இல்லை. ப்ளீஸ் be with us, and also this will be available in the YouTube link even later on. யாரெல்லாம் இப்போ வியூ பண்ண முடியலையோ இன்னைக்கு இந்த டயத்துக்கு பின்னால கூட போய் பார்க்கலாம். இதை வந்து என்னோட அறிமுக உரையாக நான் இத்துடன் நிறைவு செய்து என்னுடைய அருமை நண்பர் பேராசிரியர் திரு ராஜாராம் ஐயா அவர்களை, என்னுடைய நண்பர் குருமூர்த்தி அவர்களை ஒபிஷியலா இன்ட்ரோடியூஸ் பண்ணி இந்த ப்ரோக்ராமை துவக்கி வைக்குமாறு அன்புடன் வேண்டிக் கொள்ளுகின்றேன். வணக்கம்.
Thank you very much, Dr. Mohan Prasad, my dear friend. I am extremely happy to let you know that today Mr. S. Gurumurthy, an expert in South Indian temple and architecture, is going to speak on marvels of Chola architecture. A wonderful topic. I must congratulate Dr. Mohan Prasad for giving this particular topic in consultation with the speaker, Mr. S. Gurumurthy. Mr. Gurumurthy is the managing director of Rapid Cure System Private Limited, Coimbatore. He was born and brought up in Coimbatore, had early He loves travel. He loves photography. Presently, he is engaged in the revival of Nayak period mural paintings. He was a Rotaractor during the school days, school and college days, and was the president of Rotary Club of Coimbatore Metropolis. He joined this Coimbatore Metropolis Rotary Club in the year 1989. And past president of the particular club. He has been the chairman of the prestigious Natyanjali dance festival conducted by the club at the Pattishwara temple in Perur for like 24 years. A remarkable achievement. See, I have taught South Indian history for MA students, postgraduate students for about 10 years. I have read Cholas by Nilakanta Shastri, Shodargal by S.R. Balasubramaniam, and there is another Tamil book styled by name Rajaraja Cholan by Professor Kadat K.D. Tirunavukkarus. Then Pirkala Chola Varlar, History of Later Cholas by late Professor Sadashiva Pandarathar. Dr. Mohan Prasad spoke about the temple architecture, especially the sculpture, all those things. I have read this particular book by name written by Mailai Seni Venkadasamy, Tamilar Valatta Alaga Kalaigal. And he has toured all over the heritage places. He has conducted 2 fascinating and enterprising seminars on Cholas, Pallavas, Chalukyas, Rashtrakudas. A wonderful person. These things are to be conducted by Department of History. But I wonder, a person, a business magnate, is showing an interest in the Chola history. Rajaraja Cholan means he has constructed the famous big temple. Thanjai Periya Govil. Rajaraja Cholan kattapattadu. Periya history adu. அதை பற்றி அந்த கோவிலை பற்றி படிக்கிறதுக்கு 1 மாசம் வேணும், குறைஞ்சது 1 மாசம். நான் கோயம்புத்தூர் தஞ்சாவூர்ல வாரம் தானே உள்ளான பார்க்க முடியல. அருமையான ஒரு பொக்கிஷம், வரலாற்று பொக்கிஷம் தஞ்சை பெரிய கோவில். அது மாதிரி அவர் பின்னால வந்து டாக்டர் சொன்ன மாதிரி ராஜராஜ சோழன், ராஜேந்திர சோழன், இவங்க எல்லாமே வளர்த்த தமிழை வந்து கலைகளை வளர்த்தார்கள். கலைகள் இல்லைன்னா சமுதாயமே கிடையாது. சொசைட்டி cannot exist without the proper understanding of our culture. The passion of Indian heritage and culture. He has got great passion for Indian heritage and culture. His collection of over 1 lakh slides, a wonderful thing. quite unimaginable. He has a collection of over 1 lakh sites of different temples of South India. Coimbatore Rotary Metropolis Club, he conducts virtually meeting, that is online meetings on the particular lectures on heritage. He loves reading, driving, photography, and travel. He has traveled to many places, heritage places. He has presented papers in international seminars on heritage. He has been conducting tours every year for the club members to heritage places of interest. Is it restricted to club members or can others participate? I want Mr. Gurumurthy enlighten so the people like belong to our profession can join. And he's married to Mrs. Prasanna, had 2 sons, Anirudh and Arjun. Now I would like to call upon Mr. Gurumurthy and share with us his experiences and give a talk on marvels of Chola architecture, being an expert in South Indian temple and culture. I once again thank and grateful to you for Dr. Mohan Prasad for arranging, for hosting Gurumurthy to come and give a talk this morning. And Dr. Gurumurthy's profile, he has got a wonderful profile. And we would like to be associated with this organization sometime later, if time permits, because he's attached to Tamil culture. There is no Tamil culture without Tamil heritage. Tamil culture is based on Tamil heritage. So thank you very much, Doctor. Over to Dr. Gurumurthy. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Mohan Prasad, for inviting me today to be a speaker in your very wonderful organization of VG Foundation along with Tamil Sangam of Pollachi. It's my pleasure to be here today and give my talk on the marvels of the Chola architecture. See, when we say Cholas, the Cholas was one of the longest dynasties that ruled over this country from the Sangam era. Very few dynasties had a very, very lengthy period of ruling here in the southern India. Cholas were one of them. And there was a break in that particular Chola dynasty after the Sangam era. And again, it was revived during the 9th century by Vijayalaya Chola. And then it's the next 450 to 500 years, they were ruling the entire southern region of the India. Not only this, they extended their area of thing up to Indonesia, Malaysia, and all those places. So that was the great of this Chola. So when we talk about that, Cholas are always remembered for their wonderful and marvelous architectural temples they have left behind them. They were the ones who converted all the old brick structural temples into a permanent stone structural temples. All the Devara Padalpetra Sthalams by the great saints Appar Sundarar and Jnanasambandar, all those old temples were built in bricks and mortar, were converted into beautiful stone structures. Apart from that, many of the temples they had built it. And they are the ones which stand here in this Tamil country for the past 1,000 and odd years and boast about the greatness of the Cholas. And we are today in our lecture going to see about the marvels of the Chola architecture. Whenever we say Chola architecture, people remember very clearly the beautiful temple of Rajaraja Chola, which he built it at Tanjavur. And the other one is Rajendra Chola's temple at Gangaikonda Cholapuram. These two temples are the most magnificent and biggest temples that they have done. But apart from that, Cholas have contributed a lot with very, very many small temples also. All these temples are recognized for its wonderful architecture and the way in which it's been presented. Today's lecture is going to totally focus on the Chola, mid-Chola period of temples starting from the 9th century to the end of the Chola dynasty around 13th century. That's what we are going to see today. And with that, we'll also have to see a little bit of the Chola history and the dates behind that. See, we all know Cholas were the rulers from the Tamil country of the Sangam age. Vijayalaya Chola built a temple for the goddess Nisumba Sulini. Nisumba Sulini was the goddess for whom he built a temple in his Tanjavur. He captured the city of Tanjavur from the Muttarayars and he crowned himself as the king, and then he started the Chola dynasty with the help and the blessings of this great goddess Nisumba Sulini. And that temple of Nisumba Sulini still exists in Tanjavur. Vijayalaya Chola established the Chola Empire around 850 with his capital city of Tanjavur, and the Chola Empire, which was started by Vijayalaya, was consolidated as a strong power by his son Aditya and his grandson Parantaka Chola. Now, Cholas have built more than 30,000 temples in their Chola belt. They were the rulers of the Kaveri Delta Basin. And in the period of 450 to 500 years' time, which they were ruling this area, they have built almost about 30,000 temples. As I said earlier, they have renovated many of the brick temples into stone structural temples and things like that. And every temple they built, they are not only architecturally beautiful, and they are unique in style. And that all these temples carry a wealth of information about history, the administration system, and the life of the people during the Chola era. The Cholas were great Saivites, and they built and endowed many, many Shiva temples. It is not that they only, did a lot for Saivism. They also did enough and more for Vaishnavism. But they being Saivites, their contribution to the Saivism is remarkable and great. Aditya Chola defeated the Pallavas, and he was the first king to cover the roof of Chidambaram temple with gold. And this gold, what he used for covering the Chidambaram temple, was conquered from this Kongu country. After defeating the Kongu country, he took the wealth from the Kongu country, and that gold, he covered the temple of Chidambaram. That shows how great Saivites they were. Now, coming to knowing knowing about the architecture, we need to know about the Chola history also in brief. I'm not going to go in detail to give you a historical perspective of it. It was started by Vijayalaya Chola, and he was succeeded by Aditya Chola. Aditya Chola was a great king who was a worthy successor for Vijayalaya Chola, and he is the one who expanded the Chola Empire. From the small base of Tanjavur, he almost expanded almost the entire Tamil country. So Aditya Chola built 70 odd temples on the either banks of Kaveri, starting from its origin to Pumpuhar, where it goes and merges with the sea. He had built 70 odd temples, and all these temples were dedicated to Shiva, and they were known as Madak Koils. Some of them do exist even today. Aditya was succeeded by his son Parantaka. Parantaka and Aditya were co-regents for so a lot of time. So most of the temples that you see of the early Chola temple, it can be attributed to Aditya, also Parantaka. So there's a little bit of time lapse which is going on to that. So coming to Parantaka, he had three sons. One is Rajaditya, second one was Gandaraditya, and third one was Aringya. Rajaditya unfortunately died in the battlefield at Takolam, and his brother Gandaraditya, who became the king, he was more devoted to Saivism. So he was spending most of his time in Chidambaram temple. And at a very late age, he got married to Chimbi and Mahadevi, and they had a son called Madhurantaka Uttama Chola. And Bandaraditya, after being a king, he did not like to be there. So he was more inclined towards religion. And at some point of time, he deserted everybody and went away. So Gandaraditya's disappearance from this, it was not a natural death that he died. They say that he took to Jainism and went away. Some people say he had a natural death, and that's not clear. There's not much of clarity about that. And the third person was Arinjaya. He was also a very weak king. He was followed by his son Sundara Chola, and he had 3 children, the Aditya Karikala, Kundavai, and Arulmodivarman, who was later known as Rajaraja. So this Rajaraja Chola had 2 children. One is Rajendra Chola, and the second one was a daughter called Kundavai. This Kundavai was married to another Eastern Chalukyan king called Vimaladitya. And Rajendra Chola had 4 sons, Rajatiraja, Rajendra, Adi Rajendra, and Veera Rajendra. Unfortunately, all of them died at very, very early succession rates. And unfortunately, at a particular time, Chola dynasty was without any legal heir. So Kundavai and Vimaladitya's son was called Raja Narendra. This Raja Narendra was married to Rajendra's daughter Anganma Devi, and they had a son called Kulotunga, and Kulotunga ascended the throne from then onwards. So that is how the Chola dynasty comes to the girl side of that. So Kulotunga was followed by Vikrama Chola, Kulotunga Tung, 2, then Rajaraja 2, Rajatiraja 2, Kulotunga 3, and Rajaraja 3, and Rajaraja 3 was almost, you can say, he was the last king of the Chola dynasty, where he was conquered by the Pandyas, and Chola dynasty came to an end around Rajendra 3. So this is basically a small thing of history that you got to know about before going into seeing this temple, so that you can keep the timeline and how these temples were done in those days. The first temple that we come across is Vijayalaya Choleswaram. This Vijayalaya Choleswaram is a very old temple which is located on the slopes of the hill of Narthamalai. This temple is named as Vijayalaya Choleswaram, but this temple was not built by the Cholas, it was built by the Muttarayas. The Muttarayas had built this temple during the time of Vijayalaya, and then they had named this temple as Vijayalaya Choleswaram. It's one of the most wonderful earliest temples of Chola surviving till today. This is the aerial view of the temple of Vijayalaya Choleswaram. In those days, the early phase of the temple building was totally different. They had the center temple, sanctum, which was dedicated to Shiva, and they also had the Parivara Devatas all around. So this is known for that. With all the Parivara shrines, you can see it. Here, the Vimana, the sanctum itself is in circular shape, and the outer wall is almost in square shape. That's how it goes up. If you go inside the temple, you can see that entire sanctum is in circular shape, and the Vimana also is in circular shape. And of course, it ends with the beautiful Shikara, which is octagonal. Up to one level, it comes in the square shape and then goes into circle and then ends with the octagonal Shikara. The Mahamantapa is extended, and you see the beautiful Dwarapala's image there on either side of the entrance. These 2 beautiful Dwarapalakas are one of the most beautiful specimens of the early Chola architectural sculptures that you could see here in Narthamalai. Now from Narthamalai, we move to another temple called Srinivasanallur, a place called Srinivasanallur. The temple is called Goraknatha temple. Today, if you go to Srinivasanallur and ask for this Goraknatha, nobody will say where the temple is. It is known as Koranganatha Swami. So this temple is now taken over by the Archaeological Survey of India, and it's a protected monument. The upper portion of the temple is totally gone, And this has been rebuilt by the Archaeological Survey. And this is the bottom portion of the temple, which was built by Aditya Chola, which is still there. This is a remarkable temple for its wonderful architectural sculptures that you see here. You see the royal images of the Chola era very beautifully depicted in the costas of this. And the costas are so exquisitely decorated with these royal images that you could see here. Not only these images, you have the beautiful and the most exquisite Makara Toranas. Makara Toranas, Makara is again a mystical animal of a crocodile and a peacock and all these things put together. This is a mythical animal. This Makara Toranas were introduced on top of the costas, and they were elaborately and exquisitely designed, and what beautifully they have executed these Makara Toranas. You can see this Makara opening the mouth and people riding on horses coming out of that on either side. Here you have 4 Makaras, 2 Makaras on the top, 2 Makaras on the down, and center you have the Kirti Mukham. And such beautiful decoration of this Makara with so much of intricate sculptures is one of the phenomenal works of the Chola time. Look at that detailed, beautiful Makara Torana of Srinivasanallu. You find the beautiful Makaras there, the horse riders, Yali riders, then the Bhutas hanging onto the Makara. And in center of that, you have another beautiful sculpture of Shiva doing a Samhara. This is the southern wall of the Srinivasanallu temple, where you have the image of Dakshinamurti. What a wonderful sculptural representation of Dakshinamurti you could see. It's one of the most amazing Dakshinamurtis that you can see. Unfortunately, today the hands are all broken, legs, everything, limbs are all broken. But still, it stands out as the greatest specimen of the Chola architecture, where Dakshinamurti is seated under the alamaram, and you have the 4 rishis listening to Dakshinamurti's Monovyakyam. You have the animals, you have the ganas, everything around. Such a beautiful representation of Dakshinamurti with serenity in his face and tranquility in his face. Look at the close-up feature of Dakshinamurti's face. How beautifully it is depicted. His eyes half closed with a little subtle smile, the third eye on his forehead. Such a beautiful representation of Dakshinamurti that you see in Srinivasanallu. Now we come to the second temple of the early Chola era, which is known as Tirupallam. This temple is also built by Parantaka and Aditya period, both overlap to this. And this temple is located near Tiruvayar. It is one of the 7 temples that belong to the Saptasthanam of Tiruvayar. This is the beautiful temple. What you see here, the Garbhagraha and the Vimana, these were alone built during the time of Aditya. The others, whatever you see here, are all later additions done during the Nayak period and so on. This is the original structure that was built by the Aditya period. This is a complete granite structure. This is a Padalpetra Sthalam which was renovated during Parantaka one. A wonderful granite structure, a square sanctum with 2-tier Vimanam. Dvitala Vimanam we call. And the Shikara is square. The beautiful Shikara is square with fantastic representation of the sculptures in the Nashikudu. Look at the beautiful Shikara which is square, and the Nashikudus are there. And look at the beautiful bulls, Rishabha, that is there on the 8 corners of this beautiful Shikara. And the Nashikudu has got one of the most wonderful sculptures that you can see of the Chola era. Look at that, Shiva Linganamurti. Shiva is gently hugging on to Parvati. And look at the shyness in the face of Parvati. Look at the majesty in which Shiva stands. It's amazing sculpture that you see here. You also see the natural bull, which is so, it's lifelike, which has been placed there. How beautifully they have sculpted out these sculptures there. That is 1,300 years back. What we are talking about is 1,300 years back. On the southern side, you have a beautiful representation of Dakshinamurti as Veena Dara. Dakshinamurti playing Veena. And this Dakshinamurti in a standing position playing Veena is very, very unique. Look at the wonderful hairstyle of Dakshinamurti. So much of curls, which is made into a matted lock. How beautifully it is being given here. The Veena Dakshinamurti. Something phenomenal sculpture of what was called as Parantaka's creation about 1,300 years ago. The sculptures, every sculpture in this, be it in the small Karnakudu or on the Vimana, a Devi standing on the Vimana, or any other Koshta Devatas, everything, all the sculptures are of remarkable beauty, I would say. Now we come from there to Tirupallam to the next temple of Nageshwara Swami temple, which is located in the heart of Kumbakonam town. This is also a temple built during the Parantaka time and Aditya both combined together. This is a stone structure. The entire structure of the temple is built by stone, and this is the rear view of this entire temple, where you have the Dakshinamurti in the costas and the two royal images by the side, and the Vimana, you can see it totally in granite structure. Of course, the above portion is also in granite. Unfortunately, today, cement plastering has been done and garishly painted. That is what we could do for the wonderful architectural creations that we have been left behind for us. Look at that Vimana. This is the northern portion of the Vimana. The originality is maintained up to this, and above that, everything is garishly painted with a lot of cement applications and everything like that. Look at this. This is the southern portion of this. Look at the bracket figures of dancers. Look at the beautiful way Dakshinamurti is seated playing the Veena. The Veena Dara Dakshinamurti in the Sala element. How wonderfully they have depicted this Veena Dara Dakshinamurti. Look at his matted locks. Look at the smile. Look at the Utkishta Ashana in which he is standing, is seated and playing the Veena. Amazing sculpture. Amazing sculpture. And the beauty of this speaks volumes of the great Chola architecture of the early times. And this temple is filled with so much of beautiful sculptures representing the royal images. You have the image of a beautiful queen here. Again, a royal image. All these princes and princesses, or we don't know, apsaras, whoever it is. It's wonderful, lifelike sculptures. Very beautifully depicted here. At this temple, at the basement, you have the entire Ramayana starting from the Putrakameshti Yagam up to Sita Kalyanam depicted in small panels. And when I say it's small panels, it is just 4 inches or 5 inches by 6 inches. That is the size of the panel. You have hundreds of such panels depicting the Ramayana story totally there. And mind you, this temple was built somewhere around 9th century or early 10th century. And Kambar wrote Ramayana only 300-400 years later. But Valmiki's Ramayana was there. And our people revered Ramayana so much that this entire episodes of Ramayana is as seen in the Valmiki Ramayana. How beautifully they have brought it. Now, to tell you, this is a small sculpture, what you see there. Probably this is almost exact size of the sculpture that you see there in the temple also. It's about 6 inches by about 4.5 inches. This is the Putrakameshti Yagam. The Putrakameshti Yagam, when Dasharatha Maharaja performed along with his wife Kausalya Devi here. Now the yaga is performed as the sacrificial fire. Here you find Rishyasingha Maharishi. To show that he was brought up by all the deers and things like that, they have shown him with a deer face. Rishyasingha Maharishi, performing the Putraka Veshtiyagam for Dasharatha. So as a result of this, the Bhuta comes out of the Putraka Veshtyaga carrying the vessel of Payasa. Dasharatha steps forward to receive the Payasa along with his wife Kaushalya Devi. Now this was arranged by Vasishtha Maharishi, the Rajaguru of Dasharatha. So he feels satisfied and he says, he's showing his exclamation there. And he is talking to his mantra, Sumantra, and telling that we have accomplished and successfully done this Putraka Veshtyaga, and Dasharatha is now blessed with going to have children. And all the royal figures are also here. All these 11 or 12 human figures in one small sculpture, which is just 6 inches by 4 inches. Imagine how beautifully they have executed 1,300 years back. And this is the next sculpture. Once he gets the Payasam, he distributes it among his 3 wives. Dasharatha is seated here. His most beloved Kaikeyi is sitting along with him. The first Payasam is given to his queen Kausalya. And here is Sumitra. And there behind that, you see the Vasishtha Maharishi. So Dasharatha is giving the Payasam. Like that, the entire Ramayana story from the Ramajananam, it goes up to Sita Kalyanam and then Pattabhishekam. Now, Rama has gone into Vanavasa. Vishwamitra is taking him to Vanavasa. And look, Vishwamitra is giving the mantra upatesham and teaching him Rama to use the Dhanurvidya. He teaches the Bala Athibala mantra. And that's what is being depicted here in this wonderful sculpture. Now we come to another wonderful, interesting sculpture. When you see that, the sculpture you may not understand unless you have been explained about it. This is Marichavatam. You find Marichavatam, why 2 people are there? Rama alone goes to chase Maricha. What is this 2 people? Actually, this is Rama. This is Rama. He sees the Maricha's Mayaman there. That is what is depicted here. He comes closer to that and shoots the arrow. The man or the deer falls down and it takes the original Asura's shape, Maricha. How wonderfully, aesthetically, artistically, this particular animated sculpture is being represented here in this form. Amazing thing. Now we come from there to the next temple of Pullamangai. Pullamangai is again the temple of Parantaka. It's one of the most beautiful temples ever built by the Cholas. I'm skipping many of those things and just giving you a gist of that. This Pullamangai temple is amazingly beautiful for its sculptural value. Look at this. This is a Koshta. You have Ganesha with Ganas all around. And each Gana is in such a beautiful, vibrant movement. You can see that. And this Koshta is very beautifully depicted. Ganesha is seated on a lotus and you have an umbrella right there. And look at this wonderful Ganas playing different musical instruments, one waiting with Mushika and all that. Now, what I wanted you to see here, where my arrow is pointing out, these are the small sculptures that you see here. This is from Ramayana, Shiva Purana. Everything is beautifully sculpted in this small thing. Each sculpture there is just 5 inches or 4 inches in size. That's all. And amazing work of art has been executed, which we'll have to see there in detail. Now, this is the rear coaster. We have the Annamalai. Look at the sculptural value. This is Brahma on the north. And this is the masterpiece of Pullamangai. This is the Kotravai Devi or Durga Devi there. Vishnu Durga. Look at the Durga Devi. Look at the Tribangam, the beautiful way the body is bent and she's standing very elegantly on top of the buffalo's head. She has got the 8 arms there. Look at that. They are carrying different weapons. How wonderfully she's been depicted. What a grace is there. in our picture, in this, what the picturization of the sculpture. Look at the beauty in which she stands there, the Tribanga. And this is one of the most wonderful sculptures of Durga that you can see here. People in those days used to offer their head itself to Durga as Kanika. This is called Navakanta before going to war. Here, a Navakanta is also being shown here. Another man offering a flesh from his thigh. He's offering it as presentation to God, Durga. The Shimma Vahini, her Shimma is there. And earlier scriptures also say that she goes on a deer. So that deer is also there along with another Gana. Look at the way she holds the Trishula. Look at the way she holds the Chakra and Shanka. The Chakra is in Prayoga mode, Dhanur, and the Khadga, everything. So amazing, beautiful sculpture of Durga Devi in Pullamangai. Now we move on from there to the Vimana of the temple. It's entirely a stone structural Vimana, and everywhere you find something phenomenal beauty of sculptures there. Look at the Shiva as Rishabhantaka, very beautifully reclining onto the bull and standing there. Or be it Narsimha, wherever we see Narsimha is there in a Samhara pose, tearing up Hiranyakashipu and all that. But here, this Narsimha is totally different. After doing the Hiranyakashipu Samharam, Prahalada is scared to see Narsimha and he's standing there. Prahalada is Narsimha's Bhakta. So Narsimha takes him with love and care and hugs Prahalada. Look at the way Prahalada is admiring Narsimha by looking at him, and look at the way Narsimha is looking at Prahalada and roaring. What a beautiful sculpture. What an imagination. How beautifully it has been brought up to a form. Amazing work of art on Pullamangai's Vimana. This is Vaikunthanatha Vishnu, Tripurantaka form of Shiva. Each and every sculpture I can explain for hours together, but want of time, I'm just pushing through it. Now, when I told you the miniature sculptures, this is one of the most beautiful miniature sculptures that you see, is Gajasamhara Murti. Shiva emerging as Gajasamhara. Look at this Gaja's face. The entire body of Gaja is thrown open. With 10 arms, he tears open the Gaja and he comes out. Parvati is scared of the blood oozing out of the elephant. She's scared and she wants to move away. Baby Skanda is there in Parvati's arm. He is also scared and he wants to get away. And immediately there's a maid lady who comes to take Skanda away from this particular scene. And when all this gory incidents is happening, there is a Bhutagana who's stationed down. He's enjoying it and seeing like that. Ah, he says, look at the expression that he gives and see. All these sculptures, entire sculpture is only 5 inches by 5 inches or 4.5 inches by 4.5 inches. That's all. It's not more than your palm size. What a marvelous creation. What sort of tools and what sort of imagination they should have had to do these sculptures. Look at that Shiva doing a dance. Ananda Tandava was not present at that early period of Cholas, but here you have the Chatura Tandava, Shiva doing the Chatura Tandava. Look at that Bhikshadana form of Shiva going with the begging bowl, and the Rishi Patni is offering the Bhiksha. This is Kamadahana. Shiva is seated here as Dakshinamurti. Parvati is there. Kama shoots the arrow and he is burnt down. Kama is burnt down totally. And this is Kamadahana. This is Chandesha Anugraha Murti. And like that, you have Ramayana sculptures. Look at this. Vishwamitra teaching Rama how to use the bow and arrow. Vishwamitra is an old man, 6 feet plus tall. When he takes Rama to Vanavasa, along with him to Vana, Rama is a small boy of about 10 years or 11 years old. Small boy. Look at the way Vishwamitra's torso is adjusting to the size of Rama, and how to hold the bow and arrow, he teaches Rama. What an imagination of this sculptor who has done it. Lakshmana is by the side watching it, and Vishwamitra's one more assistant is there. What a wonderful artistic representation of this Ramayana scene here. A small sculpture. Look at this. Again, Tataka Samharam. Rama, Lakshmana, and Vishwamitra are walking. Suddenly, there was a roar from behind, and Vishwamitra says Tataka is attacking. That split second, Rama, with his foot kept in the front, twists his body and shoots the arrow. What an imaginative artist. Look at the animation that has been represented in this. And Tataka falls down. That is what is seen in the marvel of these sculptures. And this is Vishwamitra's yaga is going on. Rama, Maricha, and Subahu are coming to destroy that, and Rama is shooting at them. That's what is there. Look at this. After Vanavasa, Rama goes to Vanavasa. Bharata comes to know, and he comes to plead with Rama to come back to Ayodhya. This is Bharata coming to Chitrakuta to invite Rama. Look at this. There are 10 people, 3 elephants and horse. All this in that small 5 by 5 square. 10 royal people. This man is riding, all these people on the top are riding on elephants. Down below, a man is coming on a horse, and you have soldiers marching also. All this whole lot of people are coming to are requesting Rama to come back to Ayodhya. And this is what see here is the Jatayu and Ravana fighting for it. And this is a marvelous sculpture of Valivada. Once Vali has been killed, he is in the deathbed. Vali is lying down, Tara is there, Angada is there. Look at the expressions of all the Vanaras on the death of Vali. This fellow is seated so sad. This fellow is hitting his head and crying. Another wild fellow is again crying here. And above all, this Vanara, look at him. He's opening his mouth wide open and howling and crying. Look at the way the expressions of the death of Vali has been expressed in such a wonderful sculpture. Do you think there is anybody to create this in this world today? Nobody can compete with this great Chola architecture. Now we come to the Mover Koil at Kodumbalur. This is also a temple that was built during the Chundara Chola time by the Irukuvels of the Kodumbalur. And they built a temple, 3 temples, and only 2 of them are existing. They are marvelous for their architectural beauty. Be it the basement, the Adrishtanam of the temple, or whatsoever, you call that small designs in the pillars or intricate floral motifs, everything is remarkable in this particular temple. And this is what the Costa images that you see in this temple, and similar Makaratornas as what you saw in Srinivasanallu. And above all, the sculptures of the Vimana are amazing. Look at the beautiful way they have depicted these sculptures in the Vimana. They don't look like stone sculptures. They look more like wonderful bronze images. Subramanya seated on an elephant and coming. Look at that. Wonderful Ganga Visarjanamurti. Parvati is upset because Shiva is carrying Ganga in his matted locks. Shiva is releasing the matted locks, Ganga there, and is turning on to Parvati. Look at that. Shiva as Gangadhara Murti, Ganga Visarjanamurti. Shiva is Ardhanarishwara. And Shiva as Tripura Samhara Murti, along with Parvati. And this is amazing. Tripura Samhara Murti. That particular moment of Samharam, Shiva is there on this chariot. Suddenly he sees all the 3 asuras coming in line, and that one split second, he twists his body, takes out the arrow and shoots it out. Look at that action flow and look at the facial expressions of Shiva, the anger that is shown in the eyes. Everything is so beautifully depicted. Amazing sculpture of this Kodumbalu. And this is the Kalari Murti, Kalasamhara Murti. Look at the body, twists, everything. Whatever, how the body is bent in different angles and what sort of formation it gives. It is said there are 64 different bends in this particular sculpture, which is something unimaginable. Unimaginable, 64 different bends in this particular sculpture to do it. And I need at least 1.5 hours to explain you about that. For want of time, we just admire the sculpture and then keep moving to that. Now we come to the most magnificent temple of the Cholas built by Rajaraja. Rajaraja became the king in 985 CE. He built this temple completely with granite in 10 years' time. The granite for this temple is not available in the vicinity of Tanjavur. It had to be quarried at least about 60-70 kilometers away from Tanjavur in places like Narthamalai, Pachamalai and other places, and had to be brought all these places. Each block of stone weighing so many metric tons were transported from there, crossing so many rivers, and those rivers were in spate during the monsoons and things like that. But in spite of all this hardship, there was a steady flow of these beautiful granite blocks coming from all these sources to build this temple. And in record time of 10 years' time, he had completed this temple. They have approximately, it is calculated that today, they have used 1,40,000 metric tons, 1,40,000 metric tons of stone, granite stone to build this particular structure of Brihadishwara temple. This is based on the calculation of this structure. To come to this level, they had to chisel so many stones. And that particular stone, as a raw stone, what they would have brought it must be 3 times higher than this. So imagine so much of stones were transported from huge, far off places to build this beautiful temple. The temple is built over a pile foundation. Dr. Prasad was also telling something. Oh, Urupanamaram and all, that's, I don't know, that's a hearsay story. But actually, this particular temple of Brihadishwara, the foundation is just 5 to 7 feet, that's all. The entire structure of this temple is standing on a 5 to 7 feet foundation. How did they do it? They must have, the entire area of the temple was dug out totally, filled with sand, and laid with crisscross beams of stones up to a height of 5 feet and 6 feet or 7 feet. And over there, sand is filled and the structure is built by placing one stone above the other without any mortar. Because of that particular beautiful foundation that has been given here, which is on top of the sand, this particular temple has withstood more than 10 earthquakes till today. And it's still standing strong today. And that is the greatness of this particular temple. It is known for its architecture and beauty. Now we come to this temple. There are 2 main entrances to the temple. The first one, what you see, is the arch built by the Maratha kings. And the next beautiful Gopura, or the Vimana that you see here, Gopura Vimana you see here, is called as Keralantakan Vimanam, built by the Rajaraja. That's the first entrance to the temple. That's what we are going to see here. And the second Vimana, after Keralantaka, as you come down, is known as Rajarajan Tiruvayil. This is the second Vimana. If the first Vimana, what we see is Keralantakan, it represents the Agni Tattvam. And this Rajarajan Tiruvayil represents the Appu Tattvam. We'll see that in total. Now, if you see, this is the Keralantakan Vimanam, built over a granite base, and then it goes up to that. So it looks like a Jyoti with a broad base. It goes like that, ends up as a Jyoti of fire. That's representing Agni Tattvam of Shiva. Shiva is seen here as 5 elements. So this is the Agni Tattvam. This Vimana represents the Agni Tattvam of Shiva. And this Vimana has got wonderful sculptures, stucco sculptures, which were redone by the Marathas also. Amazing sculpture. And only in this Gopuram, on the southern face, you have the sculpture of Dakshinamurti. When Rajaraja built this temple of beautiful Brihadishwara here, there's no other Dakshinamurti representation except this Gopuram. Now we come to the main doorway. I'll tell you, every one of you who had passed through this particular temple, I've seen it somewhere. You have passed through this gateway and gone. Have you noticed this gateway and tried to understand anything? I'm sure many of you would have skipped it. Now, what is so great about this? See this pillar. This pillar is a single piece of pillar, stone, which is almost 5 feet by 6 feet, standing tall as 45 feet. This is a single piece of stone weighing approximately 45 metric tons. This 45 metric tons is weighed now. As a raw structure, it should have made anywhere between 60 to 70 metric tons before dressing up. And this was transported some miles away, so almost about 100 kilometers away from Tanjavur, brought in here, dressed up and used as the Mukhadwara pillar. Look at that. This cannot be even imagined today for anybody to accomplish it. They did it about 1,030 years back. How was it possible? Look at that. These 2 entrance pillars, you just skip them as stones and then go. But look at the thing. Then only you can understand the greatness of this builder of the temple, the architect of the temple, and the person who executed the sculptor of the temple. What great work they have put into it. We miss it. Unfortunately, we go by all false norms that one stone 80 metric tons is placed there, shadow of this temple doesn't fall. All sort of nonsense story goes around, but we fail to understand the originality of what makes this temple as a great temple. Now we come to the second entrance. This is known as Rajarajan Tiruvayal. And the place here between the first entrance and the second entrance was the known as Rishabhakotil in those days. And this is a place where the Nandi was there in those days. Now, this Rajarajan Tiruvayal is very unique. You have 2 Dwarapalakas on either side and totally compound walls going around this, the main temple of this. So this is almost called the main entrance, the second entrance of the temple. And that's something phenomenal. And this Rajarajan Tiruvayal represents the beautiful Apputtattvam. Apputtattvam, when you say Apputtattvam, water flows like this from top. It spreads out. Like that, this Vimana is spreading out. So this is representing the Apputtattvam of Shiva here. First one was Agni Tattvam. Second one was Apputtattvam. That's what we see here. And when you go there, closely see these images of Dwarapalas. You just see it for a minute or a few seconds and then keep moving. This is a colossal structure, which is almost about 16 feet tall and 10 feet wide, and he's standing. It's a monolithic sculpture, such huge sculpture. We just see it and go, what is this Dwarapalaka? What is he explained to us is what we got to see in detail now. Now, this is the image of Dwarapalaka. You see that? It looks like a giant. He looks so huge and he's there. That's what you look into it. But when you closely observe it, you see that beauty of this. Now, this Dwarapalaka is standing like this on top of a snake. That snake is swallowing an elephant. You can see here, an elephant is being swallowed by a snake. You know what is the size of an elephant? If an elephant has to be swallowed by a snake, which is an anaconda, that snake has to be so huge. And if this man can just stamp that snake as if he's stamping on a worm, this fellow should be a great, great person, huge and very hefty person, right? And that is true. He's a hefty person. Look at his eyes, bulging, protruding eyes with all the two tusks coming out. Look at his face, so fearsome face. And what is he saying? My dear devotee, you are beware of yourself. He shows a sign like this. Beware of yourself. You are entering into the temple of God. You are entering into the temple of God. Beware of yourself. If you think that I am great, it is nothing. But when you go there inside, see the God there, it is Ananda, Vishmaya Mudra. It says it's great. So beware of yourself. Be humble as you enter the temple. Then what comes to you is eternal bliss. That's what he conveys. And I'm so sorry to say that many of us fail to understand the great tattva that lies behind all these sculptures. And when you come inside, look at the Vimana. That Vimana is Akasha Rupam. It's so beautiful. And the space is there everywhere. The Panchabhuta Tattva of Shiva is explained here in this temple. Look at that Vimana. Look at the Rishabha Mantapam, the Nandi Mantapam, what you call it. And this Nandi Mantapam is a later addition that has been done here during the Nayak period. And look at that. Mantapam is a totally different structure in architectural style, everything. It is introduced in the 16th century by the Nayak kings. And this is the huge Nandi, which is made, monolithic Nandi, made out of a single stone weighing 25 metric tons, which is 12 feet in length and 10 feet in height and almost 8 feet in width. And a single piece monolithic Nandi made during 16th century by the Nayaks, and that's there. And these Nayaks have built a beautiful Mantapam, painted it with wonderful murals there, and that's what it stands today. And many of the people think this is the original Nandi that was under worship from the time of Rajaraja. Unfortunately for us, the original Nandi, which was installed by Rajaraja, is lying in the corridor of the temple behind that Varahi temple there. Look at this Nandi. This is also equally a huge Nandi, maybe half the size of the present Nandi there, which you see here. But this is the original Nandi that is there, which was installed by Rajaraja. And that was placed between the two entrance Gopuras there. And today it finds a place in this corridor. And I want you to closely look at the size of this Nandi taken into account. It weighs approximately about 12 metric tons and it's almost about 8 feet in height and about 6 feet wide and about 10 feet in length and things like that. Such a huge Nandi. And this Nandi, you please make a note of it. We will come again for this Nandi. Now coming to the Sri Vimana of this temple. This is a total granite structure, as we said, built, it's a square pyramidal shape. This temple is based on a 96 feet by 96 feet square with double-storied wall coming up to the two-floor level, and then it tapers down into a pyramidal form on a square pyramidal form up to that height, and then the griva is there and the shikara is placed on top of it. Totally built of granite blocks with one block placed on the other with a nice interlocking system of a male and a female joint without any air gap in between that. And there's no plaster in between that. With all these marvels of architecture, they have built it 1,030 years back, and even today, there is not a single drop of rainwater seeping inside. Today, are we able to accomplish even a small house without the leakage of roof? It is a questionable thing for us. advancement of things have put us into wrong. Look at that beautiful square pyramidal Vimana, raising to a height of 216 feet from the ground level. And this goes for the two-storied levels. It goes 60 feet, it goes like that with a double-storied structure, and then that it tapers into a beautiful pyramidal Vimana, and that is what is there. If you see this, this is how the representation of the Vimana. That is called as Akashalinga, and there is hollow inside this Vimana, and that is called as the Arputa Lingam. And you have two passages, circumambulatory passages, which is known as Sandara, one in the around the sanctum down below, and one at the first floor level. And on the one in the Sandara and the ground floor level, you have the paintings of Rajaraja era, and one on the top floor, you have the Bharatanatyam sculptures. 108 Karanas of Shiva, as Nritya Karanas are all there, as said in Bharata's Nritya Shastra. And this is how it looks. The entire Vimana is hollow inside. Look at that wonderful Vimana, how it looks from the first floor level right up to the top. It's hollow inside, and that's called the Arputa Linga. The space, Shiva worshipped a space there. And this is the beautiful Shiva Linga, which is there in the sanctum. It's almost 12.5 feet in height and about 55 feet in circumference, and such a huge Linga. And if you see the entrance doorway is only this. How did they fix the Linga there? It was not thick. So it's very, very unique way of building temple. They had done the concentration of the Linga, closed the entire sanctum. Then one by one, they built and went up to the top. As they built, they filled it up with sand and then made the pathway for moving up like that. And finally, the Shikara was placed. And after everything was over, this temple, as it was constructed, it was covered from the public view. Just like that, you have the scaffoldings complete, covering the new buildings. Here, mud was used as to cover up the whole thing. And this temple was never exposed before to people. During Kumbhabhishekam, a few days before Kumbhabhishekam, every sand, everything that was used for filling was removed, and this beautiful structure came to the view of the public there. And that's what you see here. And this is the beautiful Shikara on top of it. Look at that wonderful Shikara. A lot of people say it is 80 metric tons, single stone, 7-kilometer ramp and all that. It's all cock and bull stories. Don't believe all those things. It is multiple stones. As what I explained, it was brought in there and kept today. You can very clearly say it's a multiple stone structure, almost weighing 80 and odd metric tons. To balance this 80 and odd metric tons, they have placed these Rishabhas. You know what is the size of these Rishabhas? This is what we saw there. Rajaraja's Nandi, the same size of Nandi is placed. This and that is one and the same, 12 and 12. So you can imagine, to counterweight that, double the weight is placed there of the Shikara. And what an engineering marvel they have accomplished. Amazingly beautiful. And of course, this is covered by stucco, and then the designs are done, introduced during the Nayak periods. But then, nevertheless, this is one of the most beautiful Vimanas that you can see here. In all, you have about 12 Dwarapalakas leading to this particular temple from right from the beginning to then. And these Dwarapalakas are huge and gigantic. One you see at the main entrance of the temple in the Mahamandapam, 2 on either side when you come out of the temple, that is makes 6, and 2 in front of the god, and like that it makes about 8 such huge Dwarapalas are there. And apart from that, the 3 entrance at the 2 levels of the Vimana, you have again these images. These images are basically mistook as Dwarapalas, but they are the representation of Astra Devatas. Now you have the Shula being represented in the hand. These are Shula Devatas. These images are there in the 3 corners of the Vimana that you can see there. So a lot of people mistake this one also to be a thing. No, it's this is the Astra Devatas, and the Dwarapalas are there at the entrance. Now, if you see this double-story structure, you have an image of Shiva, which is almost similar running on top. What is that? This is the image of Shiva. Now, this Shiva is seen here holding a bow and arrow, CHOLA, and standing there. What does this image represent? Anybody can say this is Shiva holding the bow, is Tripurantaka. Raja was a great fighter, and Shiva is represented as Tripurantaka, a fighter, big warrior. So it is Tripurantaka. Actually, it is not Tripurantaka. It is the Rudras. Shatarudriyam talks about 100 Rudras. So these are the representation of different forms of Rudras, and they are not alike. There are slight variations in this. You can see this different variations in Rudra. 36 such Rudras are represented in the upper portions of this. And this is the beautiful Rudra representation that you see on the first floor of the Vimana. This temple, if you see the Mahamandapam, you can see the structure like this. You find the blocks there. This is the most unfinished temple. Unfortunately, Rajaraja could not complete this temple totally before Kumbhabhishekam. After doing the Kumbhabhishekam of this temple, Rajaraja fell sick, and Rajendra wanted to move his capital city to Gangaikonda Cholapuram. And not only that, so many things happened there. So this temple was left unfinished. All the sculptures from this temple were moved out there. So look at that. All the sculptures which were to be finished have been left untouched. So as of that, you see that. And look at this beautiful yalivaris of Chola, which is something very interesting, very beautiful. Each and every yali is so beautifully decorated. And you have the yali riders. And apart from that, there are number of inscriptions in this temple of Rajaraja and Sera, giving the vivid details of the donations and contributions that he has made for this particular temple. And that's one of the most wonderful temples that you see here. You see the sculptures of the coasters, Lakshmi, Kalasamhara Murti, this is Shiva as Rudra. This is Nataraja. This is Chakradana Murti. And this is Uma Sahita Murti. Friends, I had been, Professor Rajaram, I've been asked to speak for an hour. I think I've completed 1 hour lecture. To go about the other temples, it will take another 45 to 50 minutes. I feel that it should be crossing over to your time limits. Shall I stop with this particular presentation with this temple of Rajaraja alone? Can you come back to me, Mr. Rajaram? Professor Rajaram? Hello? Anyway, thank you very much for being with us for this presentation. I end this presentation with this. Probably when we have an opportunity, we'll go about the second part of it from Gangaikonda Cholapuram onwards. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
Really enjoyed it. I'm Dr. Madhura here.
Yes, Doctor.
We really enjoyed it, and we will spread the word. And I hope that lot of people will watch you. So we are really thrilled by the enthralling Chola architecture, but more so by your astounding deliverance of bringing the ancient stone sculptures to life.
Thank
So
you.
by listening to you, we realize that you have actually unearthed only the first stone of such a mountain of wealth of this Chola richness. And we hope that this will, inspire a lot of youngsters to follow your footsteps. Thank you very much, sir. That was an amazing 1 hour, which we really enjoyed. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mithra.
With your permission, we'll end the meeting here, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.